No mai, haere mai. Welcome to the Maxim Institute podcast. I'm Jason, the communications manager here at Maxim. Each week, we pair our latest column with an insightful conversation, taking you behind the scenes of our weekly columns and chatting with the authors to unpack the research, ideas, and discussions that shape their work. Get ready to dig into the latest topic. Today, we talk to Executive Director Tim Wilson about his recent column. Tim, welcome along to the podcast. Good to have you with us this week, mate.
Good to be here. Now, is this the real Jason or the fake Jason?
Well, this is, the question I think is this the authentic or the inauthentic, given that your column this week is a defense of inauthenticity, which is really intriguing because it seems, Tim, that the catch cry of our age is authenticity, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that we crave on social media. We don't want these produced videos that are overproduced and polished and they shine.
No, we want something
the raw.
dripping with authenticity, with vulnerability, with dirt.
Lots of camera shakes and, dirty edits and things like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Just be you, bro. Don't be anyone else.
That's right. Well, tease that out for us a bit, Tim, because this is the cry of our age. So why defend inauthenticity?
Well, first off, let's talk a bit about authenticity. What the notion of you just do you, don't do anyone else. It's as if crouched beneath the shackles of family, of society, of convention, is this true, pure self yearning to breathe free.
Yeah, the golden child inside of a cage or something.
The French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau wrote in the late 18th century, "Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains," as if there's the civilization is oppressing us, and so. But also, there's I can understand it. It's a natural. The question that's being asked is what is truth?
Yes.
Where does the truth lie? And look, the internet is a place that's groaning with fibs, and as New Zealanders, we don't like fakery.
Yes.
We don't like the sort of airs and graces of the mother country.
That's right. We kind of have this cynicism, I think, don't we? That everyone's kind of performing in some way when they are putting themselves out there. That there's this veneer of this is who I really am, but actually underneath there's someone else. They may say that they have your best interests at heart, but they don't really. They're really acting for themselves. And so, I think it's an attempt maybe to get down to that core of what we think is beneath these people.
Well, and look, I understand that the desire for the authentic the authentic self, is a very natural, and it's laudable because there is, as I've determined, as I've said, the digital world is full of fakes. You hear of deep fakes with AI, etc. We've all seen those videos, and most of them at present are recognizably fake, but that's going to change. So, but this notion of if you do the real you, everything's going to be fine. But
so it's this pursuit that once we uncover this, everyone will live better lives, and there'll kind of be this harmony.
Yeah. Well, there'll be something truer.
Yes.
And that truer and more natural.
Yes.
And that's a good self. That's the self that we want.
Yeah.
But here's my question is, what if that guy's a dirtbag?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a really interesting question that you pose in the column. What if you do this work and you dig this and you let this person out and you say, I'm throwing off these social constructs and these societal expectations or whatever the words are, and you become this person and you realize this person is a terrible person. What do I do?
Well, that's and there's a seam in literature that we've recently in the Maxim Book Club been reading Fyodor Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground, and his point in that book is that with free will, we assume. Let me just back it up a bit. We assume that a lot of policy initiatives, etc., are based on the assumption that if people have all the right data, they'll make the right choices. So there's no recognition that people will choose to do the evil thing, the mean thing, the cruel thing, the thing that enriches them at someone else's expense, if they can hope they can get away with it. And even if they get a bit caught, they can just crush that person. So if you believe in free will, and I think most of us do, then you have to accept that people will freely choose to do evil.
There is this selfish bent. I recall earlier in the
Are you about
year.
to confess, are you? I mean, go ahead.
Well, not exactly personal confession, but I recall that we were talking about on one early episode of the podcast, the scan and go, when supermarkets stopped doing that, because they had a nickname for it called scam and go, where you would just put all the stuff in your trolley without actually scanning it, and then you would just pay for like $10 worth of stuff with a trolley full of $200 worth of stuff, and you'd just walk out. And because you could, people took advantage of it. So yeah, I think most people would go, if there's a chance for me to bend the rules, if there's a loophole, so it's not technically illegal, but it might be maybe not the best thing to do, then I'll do that. And so how do we?
And look, if you look into that recent trial of Remuera eye surgeon Philip Polkinghorne, who was accused and acquitted of strangling his wife, but just that sense of people choosing to do the wrong thing, but also the notion that outside, you look and you sort of peer over the gates of these Remuera mansions, and it's like, what's life like in there? Well, it's this horrible melee in some cases of betrayal, drug use, sexual incontinence, misery, the rich and the miserable. So again, there's that sense of that there is a true life in there somewhere. But if we look into the true life, the life that was detailed in the Polkinghorne case, people who had well-educated people, superficially orderly people, their lives were quite chaotic.
Seemingly successful people as well. Yeah. So success, wealth, notoriety, these things don't necessarily produce satisfy or produce the good life, or maybe even authentic life, to use the term of the day. So
well, my point is actually that don't be like your supposedly authentic self. Why don't you just try a little bit of inauthenticity?
Yes.
So, don't, maybe your real self wants to gossip about that person that you work with when you meet your colleagues in the hallway at the office. No, don't indulge that person.
Yes.
You may think, I just want to vote to further my own interests. Well, why don't you vote for what is actually, in your view, and again, this is putting a moral sort of matrix over it, the good of the country. Why not choose to do something just a little inauthentic?
Yeah. Something that maybe goes against your own self-interest.
Yeah.
Because that's part of what...
Putting others first.
Yeah. I guess that's part of what the quest for authenticity is what's going to serve me, what's going to make me happy. And maybe actually putting others before yourself might make you happier than you realize. It's interesting that there's this quest for morality, but actually we've kind of got this.
There's a quest for authenticity, but it's not necessarily a quest for morality or a quest for. So it's like
they're not the same. That's right. Yeah.
If you indulge the self more purely, then everything will be good. But perhaps if you question those urges and the authentic self, it's like this hydra-headed beast. It's a mixture of good and bad. There are murmurings and mutterings and full-throated cries to be. I don't say there's not some good bits in there, but if you actually try and manage that, then you're also getting some agency over yourself. You're not just in a sense enslaving yourself to some kind of creation that wants to be entertained.
So in some way, rather than trading masters, let's say, because we think maybe social constructs or society or culture or whatever it is has imposed this prison on us. So instead we're going to let out our baser selves and instead enslave ourselves to that. And so you're saying, well, actually, there's a third way to this, and that is maybe you take control of yourself and have agency and take responsibility and
direct yourself in the service of others.
Yeah,
and against your own whims, your own will. Yes, a kind of self-sacrifice.
Yeah, and maybe that's a way to a better society.
Don't do you, Jason, because you isn't working.
Yeah.
Do someone else.
I love it. I love it. Someone better. That's a great call to end the podcast with, Tim. Very challenging. A challenge to be inauthentic. It's lots to think about. And thanks for being with us today.
Thanks a lot. See you later. Be authentic. It's the mantra of our age. You do you. Beneath our everyday lives, a deeper, truer self supposedly languishes, longing to break free from the shackles of family, convention, or society. The narrative has resonance. Consider the recent revelations from the trial of wealthy eye surgeon Philip Polkinghorne, who was accused and acquitted of strangling his wife. Superficially successful lives of rich, educated Remueraites in fact concealed a melee of sexual incontinence, drug use, and betrayal. It's fake versus real, a theme echoed in the digital world, where social media sites like Instagram and LinkedIn celebrate the pursuit of authenticity. We must recognize the technological context to this anxiety. The internet is positively groaning with fibs. Moreover, as New Zealanders, we have an historical distaste for airs and graces. We seek the down-to-earth. Yet this preference is neither unique nor new. In 1792, French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau proclaimed, "Man is born free and everywhere he is in chains," meaning below all this dreadful civilization, a purer self crouches. In some sense, the search for authenticity shows a desire for truth and meaning, perhaps the most profound of human hungers. You do you honestly, and all will be well. By this definition, authenticity is a kind of self-expression, with little assessment of what self is being expressed. What if this you doesn't work properly? What if the real you is awful? Russian writer Fyodor Dostoevsky, in Notes from Underground, observes, "Man is a vile creature and perhaps even doomed to be so. I often make bad choices in full knowledge of the trouble being embraced. People commit crimes because they think they'll get richer. They also believe they may not get caught. Accept free will, and you must also accept that we will freely choose evil." And yet much of our policy and political discussions are founded on the assumption that if people are given sufficient information, they'll make good life decisions. History and personal experience argues for the opposite. Countries like Ukraine are plundered for their wealth and resources. People are murdered, tyranny multiplies. Such foul consequences are not unintended. Nor does education ameliorate this proclivity. In the recent Sir John Graham lecture presented by Maxim Institute, Professor Nick Aroney unpacked how well-educated people are less likely to change their minds because they have an arsenal of rhetorical and intellectual weapons to bolster their prejudices. In such a landscape, a little inauthenticity might go a long way. Personally, choose not to gossip about that colleague, even though it might increase your standing amongst the in-crowd at the lunchroom. More widely, you might vote against your own interests, but for the country's good. We may be inauthentic in choosing to reject our true natures, yet we're also exhibiting some agency. No longer are we the prisoners of hydra-headed wants masquerading as needs. So, a little inauthenticity might be good for you. Don't be yourself. Be someone better.
Thanks for tuning in to the Maxim Institute podcast. If you want to stay updated on our latest research and insights into New Zealand politics and policy, sign up for our monthly forum email and event invites on our website. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. From the team at Maxim, mā te wā. Goodbye for now.